All right. Can everyone hear me okay out there? I'm not sure where everyone's at. We're streaming through multiple three. All right. How's the sound? How's the volume? Turn down desktop audio. I think that would help there. Sure Just going to wait a little bit here for people to show up. All right. All right. So, in the interest of time, this is going to be a little bit strange because we're streaming into multiple places. We have an SMS feed coming in. We're on YouTube. I think I figured out the echo here. Is there, here, and here. There. Now we got rid of the echoes. Now I can boost the mic a little bit. All right. Give me a thumbs up if everyone can hear me. All right. All right. Cool beans. So, first of all, thank you for joining me this morning. I do appreciate your time. I realize it's super valuable. And so, I'm going to jump right in because I've got a lot to cover. This is the results of the last 12 months. And hey, Nicole, good morning. I still have an echo. Where am I sourcing my echo? I think that was the last one. Okay, now we should be good. Nicole, is there an echo? Are we good? All right. Well, I'm just going to proceed. I hope it's, let me turn one source on and let me make sure here. All right, cool. Thank you, Nicole, for that. All right. So this is something that we've been working on, this idea of reverse engineering marketing. And I'm just going to go through it. You have on all the different respective platforms, you can put in your questions, put in your answers. You'll see there's a text number if you want to ask questions via text. If they're private questions related to your business or whatnot, that comes straight to me. No one else will see those. Otherwise, in the respective LinkedIn chat, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere this is going out to. So, first of all, let me welcome you to this. And again, thank you for spending your time with me. I do appreciate it. And let's get over to the presentation. So, I call this the $1 Million Marketing Plan, even if you don't speak marketing. So, good morning. If you don't know me, I am Russell Lundstrom. I call myself the Chief Marketect. And I've basically just been an entrepreneur my whole life. My father raised me to, appreciate the fact that we have the opportunity in this life to go forth and make our dreams and visions a reality. And I've been lucky in my life that I've met and hang out with CEOs from all walks of life, hundreds and hundreds of them. And this presentation this morning is the result of really the frustration that I've heard over the last 10, 15 years from CEOs who, they have their vision, they start their business, and they know they need marketing to grow, but they don't know marketing. They're either the engineer or they're the visionary, and marketing is this foreign language. So what I want to do today is I want to basically see if I can break this down. Here's our agenda. I'm going to talk fast, and I'm going to try and break this down for you without using as much jargon as I can. If there is jargon, you have questions, please text them in or comment on them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how to break out a marketing plan for a business to generate $1 million in revenue. Now, let me set the stage with this by telling you kind of a story or a metaphor. So what I've noticed is whether you're a big business or a small business, most founders have this dream, this vision. And it was about in 2019, I, for years, had been meeting with CEOs for lunches, coffees, et cetera, all over the place. And, their frustration was, hey, I keep hiring these different marketers, marketing agencies, and professionals. And, I worked with them for 5-6 months, spent tens of thousands of dollars, and really not getting the results I want. And usually those engagements end in disappointment. Here's why I think why. So let's say we have Mrs. Smith, and Mrs. Smith has dreamt of her, her forever home, her dream home, her entire life. And she, works, saves her money, and finally she is able to, let me pop this back on. She's finally able to afford her dream home. So she goes out, she gets financing, and now she's got to build this home. She has the land, she's got everything ready to go. And so she goes and she talks amongst her friends, and she's asking for a contractor and a builder, and she's maybe searching Google a little bit, but probably not too much. She's probably looking for a personal referral. This is the most important thing she's been dreaming of her whole life, right? And probably the biggest expense of her whole life. And so her friends recommend, hey, Bob the builder. Bob has built several homes. He's a good friend. He's a member of the community. And so Mrs. Smith says, awesome, I'm going to hire Bob. She goes and she hires Bob. He's the general contractor, and she hands him a bunch of money. And what Bob's job is as the general contractor is he goes out and hires the plumbers, electricians, drywallers, all those specialists to build the home. Now, what Mrs. Smith also does is she needs to somehow tell Bob what to build. And that person that tells Bob what to build is the architect, because Bob, the builder, even though he might be the best builder in the world and hire the best plumbers, best electricians, best drywallers, best carpenters, he can hire the best of the best of the best of the best. But without a blueprint drafted that tells them what to build, how many bedrooms, which direction is it facing? Is it an adobe house or is it a colonial house? What does this house look like? They're not going to be able to be successful at building this house. They're just guessing. And it's been my experience that over the last 30 years, this is unfortunately what happens in the marketing world and in the business world is you have a business founder, a visionary, and they have a dream and a vision, and they know they need marketing to build this dream, their dream home. And so they go out and they ask around, they ask for referrals. Hey, do you know a good marketer? Do you have a good agency you've used? And they get this referral. And then they go and hire that contractor who goes and hires the specialist, the Google ads, the Facebook, the writer, the copywriter, the designers, all those specialists you need to be successful. And it still doesn't work. And what's missing is this idea of a marketing architect, the person who can come in and bridge that gap between the business founder, the visionary, and the general contractor who can execute. And I think this is why, for the most part, most marketing engagements, it's not that the marketer doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't have the skills necessarily. And it's not that the business owner and the visionary has a bad idea and their business doesn't work. What's missing is this idea of a marketing blueprint that tells you what to build, how much you have to work with, what resources do you have, and the details of the business you want to build and how you use marketing to do that. So that's what Marketect is. My ultimate goal is I want you to be able to go to LinkedIn one day and actually click a button that says search for Marketect as a job, right? So does that make sense so far? Hope that resonates. This is kind of weird how I'm kind of here talking to myself. So feedback's good here. So let's drop this down a little bit, popped it up a bit, and let's continue. So who is this for? This presentation is for the business owner who is probably under 3 to 5 million in revenue, who is probably wearing multiple hats and is probably frustrated with marketing, can't seem to get it work. They're overwhelmed. They don't know how to deploy their limited resources in such a way that they can get an actual ROI. What strategy? I mean, if we look around today, we have, every time you turn around, there's a new platform, a new thing coming up, TikTok, all the different socials. And now in the last 4 months, unless you've had your head buried in the sand, we have all this AI come out, and that has muddied the waters. I mean, yeah, it's a huge opportunity. It's an amazing technology, but it is something you need to put into place and perspective. And I'm going to touch a little bit about that. So if this is you and you want to know how to put together $1 million marketing plan, then you're in the right place. So let's get started. The first thing is I want to define what is marketing, because I talk to a lot of people and where does marketing fit in with sales? And there's always that tension between sales and marketing. And the idea is really, for me, marketing is everything you do as a business that leads up to the sale, not including the sales, because the sales discipline is actually different than marketing. My job is to get you a high qualified, ready to buy lead as your marketer. So it's your website. It's any, if you have a bottle with your emblem printed on it, it's uniforms, it's your customer service, it's everything in your business. And that is also the source of the overwhelm for most business owners, is how do you take your limited time, money, and opportunity and deploy those in a way that you're actually going to achieve your objectives. So for the purposes of this conversation, or lecture as the case may be, that's what we're defining as marketing. And so my first question is, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of business owners over the last couple of years, and the single biggest frustration is really that idea that where is the toolbox that tells me, hey, I should be deploying, my resources, my time and money and energy into this channel, this SEO strategy, this Google pay-per-click strategy, this social media strategy. It's amazing how many business owners I talk to that think social media is a strategy. It's kind of a strategy, but I would actually break that down, and I'm going to again touch on this a little bit later, into different strategy channels or layers. We're going to get into that. So this is the frustration that I'm trying to clear up. So now this is where we get into numbers, and this is where I hope we don't get or fall asleep here. I'm going to try and keep this as interesting as possible. But for me, the idea of marketing, if you're hiring me as your CMO, I'm going to come into your business, and the first thing I need to know is, what is the objective? And so for today's talk, we're going to build $1 million revenue marketing plan, right? So the target is $1 million. And I'm going to talk about an example B2B company in this plan. And so the idea is that this is a pretty low transaction volume business. They get half a dozen clients a year. They have a high dollar ticket that they sell. And so now we need to break this down. So how do we do that? We start with what is the goal in mind, and that is $1 million plan. So we have to then, first we come in and we say, all right, if that is our plan, and the first place to start, now this might be obvious, but we have to say, what's our average profit per client? And we want to look at profit, not revenue, for most of our decisions. But in this case, we can look at either. So let's say in this assumption that we have an annual or an average profit per client of $10,000, right? And if we need $1 million in revenue a year, how many clients do we need then? We need 100 clients, right? So that's so the average APP stands for the average profit per product or client. This is your major or most profit per client. So this is at $10,000 here. And this gives us then, for $1 million divided by 10,000, obviously, we need 100 clients for the year. And then what that leaves us then is we have 12 months of the year, right? Sales per month. So we have 100 clients we need divided by 12 months. It's 8.5 clients per month. Now we're breaking this down into something that's much more reasonable and not so overwhelming, which is the goal, right? And then the thing in marketing, we got to start with the end in mind and move forward. So we have this thing called a sales qualified lead. That's the point where you have your prospect on the phone with your salesperson, and they're able to actually complete the transaction. Usually, unless you're marketing online in a B2C fashion where they place the order online, you're going to have some sort of agent or someone conducting the sale. Again, this is a B2B example, so you're definitely going to have a sales rep. So you need, in order to get 8 clients a month, let's assume you have, I don't know, what's a good sales rate? 40%? If I have 10 sales qualified leads, my salesperson can close 4 of those. That would mean that I would need, on a monthly basis, 21 sales qualified leads, right? That math adds up. Now, how do we go from a marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead? So a marketing qualified lead is someone who's opted into a lead gen or opted into a webinar or opted into anything. They're on your email list. Those are people who are qualified as marketing leads. How many of those do we transfer over into a sales qualified lead? And I don't know. I think if you do a good job at marketing, which is what we're going to talk about here, the process of going from a marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead, in my experience, again, has been about 80%. And so with that, if we're able to maintain those numbers, that would mean we need 26 MQLs per month to reach our $1 million revenue. So I'm going to pause there for a second. If you have any questions on that, please put them in the chat or text them in. But you want to look at your own business and think of it through that process. Go from the end result. I need X number of sales. In order to get that, what's my sales closing rate? What do my salespeople close at which number? How many marketing leads can I convert into a sales call, right? And then you have just general leads, right? And the difference between a general lead and a marketing qualified lead in this world in particular is just a lead is like a cold email list. Like you can go just scrape LinkedIn and get leads. Those are not marketing qualified leads. We don't know if they're interested in the product. We don't know if they even have a problem that we can solve for them. So you work your way down the funnel from from leads to marketing qualified lead to sales qualified lead to sales. Make sense? So the ultimate goal here is if we can get 26 MQLs a month here, which leads to 21 SQLs per month, sales qualified leads. That, and again, we're going to talk at a theoretical level, but this is why your numbers are so important. That'll lead to 8.5 clients per month, which at an average profit margin of, or an average revenue of $10,000 per client, will get you your $1 million over the next 12 months. Make sense? That's a founding math principle or equation for this. So as a CEO, as your business owner, this is kind of what you need to have in mind so you can tell your CMO, your marketing team, or your outsourced marketers, this is the goal. This is the objective we need to hit this year. And this is how we're going to do it. And the numbers we need to maintain. Because now if you're hiring me as your CMO, now I have the ability to come in and say, okay, this is clear. I know what my benchmark numbers are. I need, let's go to yellow. I need a 40% close rate on my sales team. I need an 80% close rate on my setter team if you're setting appointments or whatnot. And this is all going to convert. And then I look at my profit margin in here, make sure my revenues are good. So these numbers will help manage your entire marketing process. So that's kind of how we break down the essential marketing plan. Sounds good. But if you're not a marketer, now the next question is, how do we do this? And if that's the $1 million question, right? Because do we run pay-per-click ads? Do we have an SEO blog? Do we do social media? Like, how do we do this? And so that's what I'm going to do, is cover it today. And the way we do this is through marketing. But what the heck does that mean, right? Because in the world today, you can have, if you were to kind of group marketing, you've got online and offline. Those are the two big worlds. So offline, you've got events, you've got direct mail, phone calls, all that good stuff, referrals. Online, of course, we're all familiar with that. The Facebook, Instagrams, LinkedIn's, email, everything you can do online. There's literally unlimited opportunities to pursue in the marketing world that you can spend your money and your time in. And unfortunately, most business owners spend a lot of time and money in marketing channels that they probably shouldn't be playing in. And I'm going to teach you now, how do we come in and make those decisions around what is the best way to deploy my limited resources now that I have my map, my numbers game, my target of $1 million. How do I go and reverse engineer this out? Because if we go back to this and we look and we say, okay, look, I'm a B2B company, and let's say I sell high-end ERP systems to Fortune 500 companies. So my buyer could be a chief technology officer, probably needs to be signed off on by the finance officer as well as the chief executive officer. So you've got 3 different parties. But if this is a big ERP B2B software sale, chances are I'm probably not going to be, Facebook ads isn't the best place to do it. Certainly isn't Snapchat, maybe Twitter, probably not Instagram, probably definitely not TikTok. I mean, the idea that your prospects are on these channels, yes, that's true, they're there, but they're not going to those channels to solve their problems. It would just, it's almost inappropriate. It's like, I talk to these realtors and realtors with Snapchat channels. Yeah, it's great. You can get followers, you get people, but you don't, if I'm buying a home, I'm not necessarily going and shopping for my realtor on Snapchat. So that's an important concept. So what I wanted to do, and what I finally figured out how to do, is in marketing is a game of probabilities and odds. And there's no magic switch. There's no magic button. If anyone ever comes to you and says, hey, I'm going to create this and it's absolutely going to work, you probably want to run. It's kind of like the guaranteed stock pick. I don't know if you've ever invested in one of those, but they tend not to work out as well. So marketing is really a game of probabilities. And what I came up with is I said, all right, every business is unique. You have a unique product, you have a unique service, you have a unique customer. And, but in all of marketing, what are those base elements that are consistent in all successful marketing? And I call it kind of the periodic table of marketing. And so I want you to think about your own business, but if you were to have, what are those base elements? And I call this the master marketing equation. And so I'm going to write this out for you first. It's RM plus RP plus RTP equals the master marketing equation. Now I'm going to say it. You've probably heard it, but then I'm going to break it down for you and show you how powerful. The more I work with this is hands down the most powerful equation in all of marketing. Because what this means is if you can show the right message to the right person at the right time and place, this is your strategies, chances are it's going to work, right? You don't want to be that person that shows up with the right message to the right person at the wrong time and place. You don't want to be that guy ringing the doorbell during dinner, even though you may have the right message. And this is why I think most marketing and most business owners struggle is they start at the strategy level, the channels, the time and place, before they determine what is the right message and who is the right person. So here's the little kicker on this. Your right message and your right time and place, well, those are 100% dependent on your right person. So these two all fall on who is the right person. So if you're a B2B business owner, the first thing you need to figure out is, okay, who is the person I'm selling to? So in my ERP example, my primary person I'm selling to, who's probably, and again, think of that hierarchy of going from lead to marketing qualified lead to sales qualified lead. My marketing qualified lead is probably CTO, right? Chief Technology Officer. That's where I want to go. So we would, in our example then, define the right person as the CTO. Now, what CTO? What companies? Just CTO in general? Going and searching LinkedIn for CTOs probably isn't the best solution. So what we want to do is we now want to break this down further and come in and say, hey, look, marketing's super expensive. We've already talked about this, time, money, and opportunity mostly. If we have the opportunity to define who our right person is, because all of marketing is a choice, let's say our right person is our most profitable client. And so now as the CEO, you can go in and look at your books, print out your clients for the last year, who were the most profitable. And every business has this out there, this thing called the Pareto principle or the 80-20 principle. But I would bet you dollars to donuts that 80% of your profit comes from 20% of your client base. And so now we can focus that down and say, okay, out of our 25 clients last year, we made the bulk of our money from a small handful of those clients. Now, what is common with those clients? Let me give you a real world example. We worked with a business broker that specialized in businesses under $5 million. And they had a sales team literally out knocking on doors, business doors in the city. Now, it was working, but it was highly inefficient. And so we went through this process with them. We looked at their transactions for the last year. We sorted them. We did the 80-20 analysis. And lo and behold, it turns out well above 80%. I think it was actually in the 90s. All of their clients that they made the majority of their money on was in the home services industry. They were roofers, not drywallers, but roof siding companies, window companies, home painting companies, gutter companies, things like that. So now we know we're able to go to the CEO and say, hey, look, your RP, your right person that we want to market to is probably the owner of a home services company. Well, what does that do for the owner? What that does is now they can go and they can direct their sales team and their marketing team to go out and say, hey, first step, Get me a list of every roofing company in Denver, top 100 companies. Get me a list of all the owners of every window company, of every painting company. Now we've got a list to work with, right? And this applies to any business. You can go out. The first goal I always want to do is, can we build a list? Can we actually plant a flag and identify who that customer is? Then the next thing is, if you think about this, we want to go back, and I'm going to return to our example of the CTO. Sorry, I hope it's not confusing here. So we're going to the CTO. Now think of this. If I'm selling my ERP systems to a CTO, that CTO is probably, they have a problem to solve. Your right message is really, what is the problem they're looking to solve? And the thing is your marketing messaging is really just that. It should be linear for the CTO. You need to be able to recognize what is the problem they're trying to solve. And your marketing fits into that as, hey, here is how we solve this for you. That's what's going to get them to raise their hand and start a conversation with you. And so you need to do the research and talk to your CTOs, your prior customers, and your current prospects. Figure out what is the language they use, what is the problem they have that you're trying to solve. Let me give you another quick real story. So we did this with a company that did connector software in the small banking industry, and it was really under the guise of cybersecurity, right? Like, imagine if your local community bank is managing all their employee passwords on a spreadsheet. Probably not the most secure system, but unfortunately, that's how a lot of them work. But we did this customer research with these bank CTOs, and while you would think off the top of your head as a marketer, oh, it's all about cybersecurity and them getting hacked and the risk management of passwords and all their employees, all that stuff. That's the obvious. What we learned was, in doing our actual customer research, the real problem that these people had was, once a year, in order to qualify for SDIC funding, they had to do these audits from the government. And the audits were a giant pain in the ass, because every year it was some new government employee, who comes in and audits these banks, and they want different reports every year. It's much like an IRS audit. And so we learned, in talking to our right person, that the true problem they had that they would love to solve was actually, can we use the software and help them generate reports that they can pass these audits? And what this allowed us to do is actually realize a dollar amount. These banks were spending upwards of $200,000-$300,000 a year. 2 or 3 people had to work on the teams, and it took 2 or 3 months to generate all these reports for these annual audits. Well, it turns out the software did ad hoc reporting, and at the push of a button, they could generate these reports. Well, now think about this. I'm the marketer for this company. I now know what the real problem these people faced on an annualized plan, where my software could really help them with that product or problem. And so now all of my marketing is not going to talk about what I thought it was, cybersecurity. What my marketing is now going to talk about is, this problem of ad hoc reporting and auditing and all the costs associated with that. And needless to say, that marketing resonated, and that company just took off. The final piece of this puzzle, the master marketing equation, is the right time and place. And so again, if we're trying to get the attention of the CTO, that CTO probably reads certain email newsletters. They probably visit different websites. They probably have a different peer group and associations, trade journals, magazines, all of the above, where they go to those places to learn how and where to solve this problem that they have. And versus if you're trying to sell to, say, the CEO of that same company, that person has probably an entirely different set of places they go, as well as an entirely different set of problems they're trying to solve. even though your solution helps both of them. Does that make sense? So this is why you want to, in the world of marketing, when you're coming at the higher levels here of like a CMO, you want to break this down to almost a one-to-one relationship with your marketing. And so if you ask this CTO, maybe you learn, oh, hey, you know, I read this email newsletter, and primarily when I go to do my research on ERP software, I actually go to my CTO peer group, and those are who I trust the most. Well, so now, because we've done this research and we've talked to them, we know that email and a peer group is, you know, offline marketing is actually the most potent strategies we should be pursuing as a CEO. Again, it's the idea that every business has limited resources. And so while, yes, there's lots of opportunities out there, you can't take advantage of all of them. You have to focus. And you might as well, if you're going to focus, let's put the most amount of focus on our most profitable customer, right? The 80-20. Let's find out what is the message they need to hear in order to do business with us. And let's find out where do they go to solve that problem. It's not more difficult than that. And I hope you can see that this equation, this right message to the right person at the right time and place, sounds kind of trite sometimes, actually. But the idea is that if you can do this, now you can create focused ads, focused brochures, the content on your website, your social media calendars, all that content that you want to publish. If you're running SEO campaigns, your content had better be talking to the CTO who has this problem and helping them solve that problem. Does that make sense? So, hey, Teresa, good morning. Then this gives us a really good foundation for how we now, as a high-level marketing or CEO, how can I start getting those MQLs and SQLs? The next thing we need to think about is the offer. And basically the offer is, you know, the two-way street. I always imagine that moment when you're buying a new car, if you've ever been through that, when they slide the contract across the desk. You know, your offer is much more than just, hey, your value stack. Hey, I'm going to throw in this bonus. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Your offer needs to include things like, if I'm buying a car from you, or let's keep it with our example here of our CTO. The CTO, they're thinking in the back of their mind, if they're going to buy your product, what's the guarantee? What happens if it doesn't work? Their job's on the line. Right? You need to think about all these things from your RP's perspective, and all of that needs to go into your offer. And that's your entire offer package. And so a lot of people, they think their offer is just, hey, I'll sell you this thing for X number of dollars. But there's all these different facets of what goes into your offer. And the idea is you really want to create an offer that when your prospect sees it, they're going to be like, I'd be an idiot to say no to this, right? That's what constructing a valid offer looks like. And then the final piece of the puzzle is your USP, which is unique selling proposition. And your USP is what wraps around your offer, separates your offer from every other offer in the marketplace, and it's what you deliver in that right message. Does that make sense? So this is a toolbox of how you can now, if you're the CEO of your business, you should be able to sit down and write out, all right, who is my RP? Who is my right person? And you define that by your most profitable customer in your business. If it's B2B, what's your most profitable product? Who's buying what? What is the message that person needs to hear, which is essentially what is the problem that person is trying to solve? And where do they go solve it? Marketing does not need to be any more complicated than this. Then have a clear offer they can't say no to, and have a USP that wraps around your offer that makes yours unique in the marketplace. Make sense? So it was a lot. I want to take 1 second, and if you have any questions, put it in the chat or text, and I will address it. Hi, Teresa. So far, so good. So let's continue down our plan here. So we've now defined our goals, correct? Our numbers for the $1 million plan. We know what we need to do. We've identified who is it we're going to show and how are we going to create this marketing to go get those people. The next piece of the equation, or the next part of this process, is we need to talk about this idea of the conversion event. And you'll see on the screen here, there's this, I like to use another metaphor. I love my analogies and metaphors. And, you know, I'm just a marketer. Sometimes I don't even know what the difference between those two is. But anyway, let's talk about, remember we said marketing is a game of probabilities. Well, so is golf, right? And so if we think about this, if I'm on a par 5 hole and I'm trying to get my ball into the cup, if I'm up there teeing off, what's the probability of me getting a hole in one? It's probably 0. And it's most certainly 0 depending on the course and the distance. I mean, unless you're some world record holder distance hitter, you know, or maybe a bird comes by and grabs your ball and drops it in the cup. Highly unlikely to happen. But that's this scenario. You know, if you're up here and you're teeing off, you know, you probably have to do several hits to get that ball into the hole. Versus if you're here and you're this person and your ball is 6 inches from the cup, your probability of popping that baby in is nearly 100%, correct? So let's take that same philosophy and idea and apply it to our marketing around the conversion event. And it's the idea that your customer, that CTO, yeah, there's a lot of CTOs out there, and we've done the research. We know what industries, we know what companies our product particularly helps with, but there's certain degrees of awareness your customer has, or how burning is the problem they're trying to solve. And what we want to do is we want to start our marketing process with talking to and finding those CTOs, our ideal customers, who have the burning problem. They're aware they have the problem. They're actively searching for a solution. They're aware of what they're ready to buy. They basically have their checkbook, and all you have to do is show them what they need to see, and they're ready to write a check. That's putting, versus most marketing is starting in the tee box. Oh, I'm going to create this PDF download worksheet, and then that will generate me a marketing qualified lead. Yes, it will. But look at how many steps and how many decisions that lead has to go through before they become a sales qualified lead, right? Where your salesperson can talk to them. They need to learn. They might not even be aware they have a problem, right? So what we want to do is we want to create marketing that talks to this person that has the burning problem and they're ready to write a check today. So this is a much smaller audience, but this is what's going to start your cash flow and your sales and get that rolling so you can then start moving out to larger and larger audiences. That makes sense? This is a really important concept in marketing. And I'll credit this. This is, I learned this from Joel Irway. So this is where we want to start. So Joel devised this thing that we use called the Power Offer Framework. And it's basically, this is where we now start constructing our marketing messaging. And we want to come in and we want to say, all right, what is the Power Offer Framework? And this is where we come in and it's a simple sentence. We say, if I am a, and here's where we put a right person. In this case, in our example, if I am a CTO who wants, this is the right message or the problem. What is the problem? I want an ERP system to help me do X, Y, Z in my company. Why should I? This is my offer. Why should I invest in your product versus rather than this is your competition? And what this equals is your USP. This is what separates your offer from every other offer out there, as well as one of the choices is doing nothing, by the way. So you need to account for that as well. But you want to be able to, this Power Offer Framework is be able to answer all these questions. And so we've got spreadsheets and worksheets that we use for this, where we come in and we say, hey, if I am a CTO who wants an ERP problem to solve XYZ, why should I buy your product versus the competitor or doing nothing? And my marketing needs to be able to answer that question. So if you're getting started, like boots on the ground today on your $1 million marketing plan, if you have all this stuff figured out already and it's defined, here's where, all these new AI tools come into play, not before. Here's where you can come up with, what we want to do is we want to come up with, this is what I suggest to all business, come up with 20 variations of this power offer. It's a simple direct message that says, hey, if you're this person and you're looking to solve this problem, here's what we can do for you. Let's talk, right? And we want to come up with 20 variations of that power offer. And that's where the brilliance of like ChatGPT comes into play. You can tell this, all right, hey, here's the problem. Here's our person. Here's the master marketing equation flushed out. What is, give me 20 variations of this power offer framework, as well as I'm going to show you in a second how to test for this stuff. I usually recommend 5 to 10 images, but that too can be generated from all these AI tools. I mean, AI is amazing for marketers as a tool, but I hope you can see we don't want to use, what we don't want to do, and I've seen this so many times, we don't want to go to chat and say, hey, I have this type of business, help me create a marketing strategy. Because what this is going to do, this AI stuff is just I can't even say the word. It's a language model, and it just finds the next word that makes the most sense based on all these data points, right? Well, there's no validity, there's no research into your master marketing equation, because chat doesn't know your business. It doesn't know what your product actually solves for the customer. If I were in that small banking example and I went to chat and said, hey, create me a marketing plan. Yeah, sure. It's probably a decent marketing plan, or at least gives you the ideas for it, but it's not going to flush out that opportunity. Chances are, I mean, maybe it can, I don't know, but chances are it's not going to come up with that opportunity that, hey, the real problem we're trying to solve here is this auditing and reporting, right? Like, that's a stretch. So this is why I look at AI as a massive, incredible tool, but it is not the end all and be all of, making your marketing going to work. You still have to do, the homework, the blueprint, the master marketing equation, right? So here's how we test this stuff in a power offer framework. So I'm coming in, let's back up a little bit and remember, we have our target, $1 million, right? That was my promise to you. You spend an hour with me, I'm going to show you how to do marketing for $1 million. So we have that target. We know we need, what is the number here? We need, where'd that go? We need 26 MQLs. Uh-oh, can you hear me? Teresa? I got thumbs up on different sources. I'm not sure if you're having a sound problem. I'm just going to continue and hope. I hope this works. So we know we need 26 marketing qualified leads a month to get 8 sales a month. We know we need 21 sales qualified leads, and all of this leads to 8 sales a month, which leads us to 100 sales a year. And there's our $1 million, right? So, okay, good. Thanks, Sean. So I'm coming in now and I have all this defined. I've got my master marketing equation defined. I've got my numbers defined. Now I'm ready to go. Now my house building analogy, now I can come in and start hammering and doing some nails, right? And we've now used chat and AI to come up with different ad variations, different copy variations, all that stuff. So what I like to do is, and this I realize contradicts a little bit about what I said about not using every channel, but there's a reason for this. I want to test the power offers primarily on Facebook and or maybe Google. Now, the reason why is, if you think about this, it's all about resource allocation. And resource allocation is how much effort does it take to do this testing? How do you know your marketing message is resonating with your right person? And as far as advertising and testing goes, I don't think there's anything as lightweight or inexpensive as Facebook. You can get on there. You can do, if you came in and generated 20 different ad copy ideas using chat, based on this power offer framework, you can come in and run an ad campaign with 5 different images, 20 different ad copies, put it all together, put a budget, and make it work and see what the results are. It takes almost no effort. Versus, let me contrast that and say, okay, YouTube video ads are probably more powerful, but now you're talking about, I got to produce a video, I got to get it out there, I need a landing page, got to do all this stuff, right? Everything in marketing takes 10 times more effort than you think it does. So what I want to do is I'm going to start out and come in here and test. Let me change the color here. I'm going to test a KPI, my power offer. And I'm going to choose, let's say Facebook, just because it's the easiest and I know it. So my goal here is, in a Facebook ad, how do I know if it's working or not? Well, every strategy has different benchmark numbers. But for me, and just in my experience, if you have a Facebook ad with, say, a 1.5 to 2% click-through rate, you have a pretty successful ad, right? And then once they click through on that ad to a landing page where we want to capture that MQL, a landing page should have about a 20% opt-in rate, right? And remember, our goal is we want 26 MQLs. Well, now we can back out the numbers and figure out how are we going to do this. Well, in order to get 26 opt-ins at a 20% opt-in rate, that's 130 clicks to my landing page, right? Which means I'm then also buying, how many is that? That's 6,500 impressions at a 2% click-through rate. Okay, so now again, we're not guessing. We have numbers to work with. And this is where, I don't know if you've ever bought advertising before, but this is where CPM comes into play, right? Because your CPM is your dollar cost per 1,000 impressions. So if you have the budget and you're testing a power offer to see if you can reach this 2% click-through rate, I know if it comes in under 2%, and let's say my CPM is $50, I'm going to call the ad successful or not successful at 1,000 impressions. So I know for each test, it's going to cost me roughly $50, right? Does that make sense? Again, we're talking numbers. It's a little hard to hold numbers in your head. But the idea is we need to get 6,500 impressions to find our power offer that works, which drives 130 clicks, which gives us 26 MQLs. Now, if I can generate that in a month, it's only 26 marketing qualified leads. And gosh, how many is that? 6 times 5, that's a total cost of, what? I don't know. So 1,000, 6,000, a couple $100. I'm a marketer. I'm not a math guy. A couple $100, maybe call it $500 to test out your power offer, and you get it going. And so now the idea is, if we can find that message that drives people to our landing page has that messaging that generates a 20% opt-in rate. Now I've got marketing qualified leads. Again, think of that conversion event. These are people, the only people who are going to opt into this thing are people who have the problem you solve. We're not giving away a lead gen. We're not, download our 5 best hacks or this or that or the other thing. We want to create marketing that goes right to that conversion event, right to the problem that these people are going to solve. And this is how you can now start generating your MQLs, your marketing qualified leads. And at this point, this is where I have a marketing qualified lead. I can come in, what's my next one here? I can come in and hand that lead off to my sales team. And now it's up to the sales team. This is how sales and marketing need to work together. Now the sales team tells me, hey, that was a great lead, or that was not a qualified lead. And I can course correct my advertising and testing so that I'm generating the best leads for sales, because their numbers, remember, on the sales side, I need to transfer 40% of my marketing, or excuse me, 80% of my marketing qualified leads into sales qualified leads, and sales needs to convert at 40%. So we all have our numbers. We know, and if you're the CEO of your business, this is how you hold your team accountable. Hey, you're a marketer. You need to be producing leads that convert at these numbers, right? Everyone always says in marketing, like, and this is where the strife becomes in the picture between sales and marketing. Sales is always complaining about crappy leads. And it's because there's not this feedback loop, and you don't see benchmarks and everything needed to make all this stuff happen. So again, this is a pause point. The big question is, how much money does it take to arrive at this point? And how long does it take to get you here? Even if it's 2 months, 3 months, 5,000, 10,000, it won't be if you do this right and you do your homework and solve for your master marketing equation. But think about this. Go back to the beginning, right? We're talking about if all those numbers, our theoretical model works, if I'm able to generate 26 leads per month, marketing qualified leads, and if my sales team can convert like they say they can, now I've created an ad campaign with minimal cost. I'm only running the ad to KPI. If it works at 1,000 impressions, it has a 2% click-through rate, that's a winning ad. Now I can start putting more and more money into that ad. But not only that, do I need to scale that ad? Now I can take that exact marketing message, advertising message, and now I can go make my YouTube videos, my blog content. Now we can start deploying it. But until then, until you've tested the KPI, you're really just guessing in your marketing. And what our goal as marketing architects is, we want to take the speculation and the guesswork out of marketing and use data as much as possible to make our decisions. But it's been my experience, like in my own business, when I launched this, I think I spent, in the first year, I tested, close to 65 different power offers before I found the one that works and converts to my KPI. And it took 6 to 8 months. But the total cost of that was only around $20,000 versus if you own a business, and I'm not going to knock any marketing agencies out there, but if I'm starting and launching a business, or I have an existing business and I've hired an SEO company at, what's the average, $3,500 a month? This at $3,500 a month, 6-7 months, you're already there. Are you going to have a scalable, provable model that's going to generate $1 million for you that you know of? Those are kind of the questions you need to ask at the executive level when it comes to marketing. And so now what you do is, once we found that message that resonates and converts with the numbers we need, now all we need to do is course correct. So let's say maybe it took 3 months to test this out and make it work. Well, we had talked originally, we need 8 sales a month to reach $1 million. That was with 12 months in the year. Well, we spent 3 months testing. So now we've only got 9 months left. Let's just redo the math. And again, 12 divided by 9 to get to $1 million is how many sales per month. And then we just back out the numbers. Let's say it's 12. Course correct. Should have had this math done first, but you get the point, I hope, is you can come in and now we have something to work with. Now we can start adjusting our budgets. We know what we can spend. Instead of just randomly pulling out some number, I'm going to use 5% of my gross revenues for my marketing budget. Now I know what's it going to cost me to get a marketing qualified lead, a sales lead, and all the numbers work. Your CFO is going to love you. Your accountant's going to love you. Most of all, your CEO is going to love you because they can plan and they can build on this stuff. So this is where I'm going to take just a quick pause, make sure there's no questions here or anything like that. And the final piece of this puzzle, gosh, we're already at an hour. I want to get this wrapped up so we can do Q&A if there's any. The final piece of the puzzle, if you're a CEO looking to put together your marketing plan. So I want to stress at this point, your marketing plan is something much like a blueprint, that there's a process for making it. It's not guesswork. It's not throwing stuff out there. It's not, speculating and just, like most marketing is throw stuff against the wall and hope something works before we run out of time or money. What we want to do is we're taking a very systematic approach. We're reverse engineering your business. We're finding your ideal customer. We're doing the research that says, what is that customer looking to solve? How does your product solve that customer's problem? Where do they go to solve the problem? Now we're going to come in. What is the offer that's going to make them entertain the idea of doing business with you? And then what's your USP that makes your offer different? We've got all that in. We come up with a power offer language where we're as close to that buyer as possible. We go to market, we test the messaging so that we know what the message is based on all that research. Now we have a solid set of high probabilistic, again, tongue-tied, high probability. We've stacked the odds of success in our corner as much as humanly possible. Now I want to come in and say, okay, I'm the CEO. How do I manage this going forward? How do I keep my marketing on track? Because again, you have ad campaigns wane, right? Or they fatigue, or you have email campaigns where people stop opening them, things like that. So it's always a moving picture. But if you're the executive, you're the CEO and business owner, you want to be able to have a dashboard, or a CMO. I work with a lot of fractional CMOs and CMOs. You want to have a dashboard of numbers where you can simply just look at that dashboard and say, okay, red light, yellow light, green light. Green light, everything's good. Just keep on going. I can go divert my attention and resources to, grow in the business, new product development, new whatever. But if there's a problem, I want to have a dashboard that says, hey, yellow or red light, here we have a problem. Something's not working. Our MQLs are not transferring to our SQLs at, what did we say, 80%? There's the problem. That lights up yellow. I can come in as your CMO now and say, hey, here's the problem. Our lead quality is not good. We're missing something on the messaging. And so we can start, again, backing out the funnel and adjusting the messaging to try and influence the results with our MQL and SQL. So when it comes to building out this CEO dashboard, is what I like, or we'll call it a CMO dashboard, you want to kind of have something really simple. You don't need a spreadsheet with 10,000 rows and 50,000 columns. That doesn't do anyone any good. Your company metrics, you want to have just 3 or 4. You want to have, what do we need, right? In our case, we have revenue. We're trying to hit $1 million. All right. We probably want to keep an eye on gross profit. Maybe we have a 20% profit margin. The biggest number, I think, in marketing for CEOs or all of business is what's the lifetime value of your customer over the course of 12 months. And we defined it in our example in the beginning. Our LTV was $10,000 per customer. This is a number that, if you pay attention to, will show you that everything is working. If your LTV starts going down, it's because you're either not converting sales or people are not getting their problem solved and they're leaving early, right? And there's 2 components to LTV. There's both the financial aspect of it, and there's also the monthly aspect of it. Or not monthly, but time. How long does it take? LTV is a bit of a misnomer of lifetime. Maybe we want to define LTV as 12 months, 3 months, 8 months, whatever the time period is, a quarter, you name it. But these are the 3 big numbers that we want to put on our dashboard at a company level. At a strategy level, I already touched on this a little bit, but every marketing strategy has certain benchmark numbers. If I'm doing Well, we used Facebook as an example, right? So the metrics for a Facebook campaign is my ad needs to have a 2% click-through rate or better, right? And my landing page, we said it wants to convert at 20% or better. And that needs to then be, we keep going down the funnel. Now we have a marketing qualified lead. 80% of those MQLs need to transfer into SQLs. And then our salespeople are going to close 40% of the SQLs, right? So now in our dashboard, we don't have 1,000 numbers. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. And those on our report, if one of them lights up yellow, we now know not only is there a problem, but where is the problem? Maybe the problem isn't in the ad, it's in the landing page. The page sucks. As your CMO, I need to be able to say, hey, here is the problem. It's not in our ads. Our ads are good. Our problem is in the landing page. Or let's say we're not converting our MQLs to SQLs. We're getting the wrong type of leads. Well, we're going to know that if our click-through rate and our landing page, they're converting, but we have a problem at the MQL stage, that tells us our messaging is wrong. Does that make sense? So you can back out all this stuff and use the numbers to figure out where the problems are. And now you have built basically a complete marketing plan that's scalable, it's duplicatable, it's repeatable. You can duplicate this for any business, anywhere, anytime. It doesn't matter, B2B, B2C. It's really business agnostic because you're talking about the elements of a business, not, oh, hey, trying to shove your business into this latest marketing strategy. And now we've got the numbers to help us manage the whole process and help us get to that $1 million. So again, this is a really big elephant that we broke down in just 67 minutes. So understand it's pretty complex. There's a lot of information here. If you'd like, you'll see the numbers scrolling on the screen. If you want a copy of the presentation slides, just text me at that number. That comes straight to me. Send an email, russell@marketingplanformula.com. Whatever we want to do. Like my reason for being is the small business entrepreneur. I don't know if you've heard this before or not, but I truly believe everything we look around in our office, from the iPad that I'm using, my phone, the water bottle I drink from, everything is created because there's some crazy person out there called an entrepreneur who has some wacky idea and starts in their garage, takes out 20 credit cards to make it happen, mortgages their house, sacrifices Christmas and all holidays, and they make it a reality. Everything we have of value in our life is because of an entrepreneur. And so my reason for being is the entrepreneur. If I can help you be more successful in business, then I think that raises the standard of living for everyone in the world. It does not come from government, and it does not come from giant corporations. So that's kind of my whole spiel today. I did want to go fast, and I did want to promise to try and get it done within an hour. But I just wanted to kind of present this idea for you. Next time I'm going to do it so we have more of a chat and we can have a little bit more. But I'll stick around for Q&A. I also wanted to open the door. We're starting. Oh, actually, before I end, let me show you how this works on a mathematical model. Sorry about this. I forgot I had this in here. So this is a funnel mapping software. And this is a build out of exactly what I just illustrated for you. Is we're running a Facebook ad that goes to an opt-in page that has a 20% conversion. We're on the fat here. Let me go slow. And in this case, I've got two different upsells, a $29 and a $1 upsell with a 15 and 20% conversion rate. Don't let the numbers bog you down. The point is, all of this ends up at a triage. This is where we have the MQL, right? Is this person qualified to buy? Should I pass it on to sales? This is your SQL. And in this funnel example, we have a $5,000 price point. But this software, what it does is if all our numbers hold true, it calculates what the performance of the funnel is. And here, this is for a given month. If everything works and we get it to KPI, you're going to have revenue of $95,000, and the cost of that revenue is going to be $5,600. Sounds really great, right? But it takes a while to get here. And at the end of the day, this is our $1 million roadmap, right? We have monthly revenues here, $95,000. This is annual, and here we go. I hope I've fulfilled on my promise. Here is your $1 million marketing plan in 12 months or less. So with that, this is where I will end now. I jumped ahead of the gun a little bit. But this is how you put together, and this is if you're a chief executive officer, a chief marketing officer, just an entrepreneur who needs some marketing to work, this is how you get it done. And what I want to extend out there is, we haven't done this a lot in the past, but because this is all brand new material and this is all new stuff that we figured out how to do, if you're interested in having us come in and do like a marketing audit and look at your marketing channels and strategies and kind of look through and see and help you build out where are your KPIs, what do they look like, where are your weak points, you know, in that whole math equation for your dashboard, we're happy to come in and do that. It's normally a 3 to 5 hour process. Normally, we usually charge a couple $1,000 depending on the size of business and how many marketing strategies. But if you're on this call today, we want to extend that. It's a 3-hour session to come in and help you analyze and look at everything. And we're going to do it just for, I'll do it just for a $500 payment. So if you want us to come in and audit your marketing strategies, all that, work with you on putting together a plan, get a hold of me. It's only good for today. We're going to be moving forward with some different initiatives, but I wanted to do something special for the people that invested their time with us today. So with that, I'm just going to answer questions in both the chat and text. Let me get in here and start looking at some of the questions. Teresa, the funnel software was called GERU. It's Russell Brunson's software. He just bought the company. It's been around for a while. It's certainly not anything that, you know, you want to lean into a lot. I just use it for testing out. Again, I'm a data-driven marketer. I use it for testing out, you know, what would this funnel structure produce in results if we can hit KPI? That's the idea with the funnel structure. And you put it, it's really cool though. It tracks all your cost per click. It tracks all that stuff. So, let's call this a 3-hour blueprint review. And I don't want to use audit, but basically that's what we help you do, is look at where you're spending now, what's working, what's not, and how do you make decisions on moving forward. Let's see. Can you send plan? Yeah. Christine, do you mean the slides? I'm happy to send the slides. As far as a plan, if you want to do this on your own, we have a download on our website at Marketing Plan Formula called the Single Sheet Marketing Plan. Just go to marketingplanformula.com/single sheet, and you can download this one-page marketing plan that essentially is all this. If you can fill that marketing plan out, you can you probably have all this in place, and then you just move on to the testing phase of getting it to KPI. Yes, I'm happy to send you the slides for this. And Sean, yes, so my email, let me put that up here. So you can reach me. The number is scrolling across the screen. That's our phone number. You can call or text. My personal email is russell@marketingplanformula.com, which is also, of course, our website. Hope that's unnecessary to say. But yeah, reach out. Like, I love this stuff. I told you my reason for being is if I can help you be more successful in your business, then I'm all for it. So by the way, as a note, we are not a service company. We don't do these services for people. We run a school where we teach people how to do this process. We like to call it a CMO school because this is the difference. If you think about it, if you know how to do this process, this being a marketect, what it does is it raises you above having to be the specialist. I don't need to be the YouTube expert. I don't need to be the Facebook expert. I don't need to be the SEO expert. And it doesn't matter what technology comes out tomorrow or changes. We can hire specialists to do that. What this is this is executive level marketing of putting together the blueprint. So now everybody knows what to do to make this house a reality. Does that make sense? So, Sean, you're welcome. Any final questions? I'm just going to sit here all by myself and quiet. If there's no more questions, I'll give it a couple of minutes. But otherwise, let me go back here and go to here and change it here. Well, I'll leave this up, but I know I'll go back. Anyway, you can see I'm pretty informal. I've done this a long time. We've started 20 different businesses, and I know it works. Everything from global brands, like we did this with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, increased their conversion 60%. We've also done it with the local barbershop and rocked it. So it works. It's reverse engineering your marketing. And yeah, thank you very much for your time. Hope it was worthwhile. Keep your questions coming, text, email. All right. Yeah, Teresa, can you be specific? You're welcome, Sean. I look forward to chatting. Hope I kept my promise. Teresa, you said, oh, the 30%. Remind me. Is it the 3 months, Teresa? Maybe here, I think. This one? I got to get chat enabled here. Oh, there you go, Teresa. Yeah, and your chat on YouTube. If you type there, it comes up right away. Now we can chat without texting so much. It's a little easier. Christine, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Oh, so what I was illustrating in this screen here is in the beginning, the promise of this presentation was, can we create a marketing plan that will do $1 million in 12 months, right? So 12 was the base number. And going through this process, well, like all marketing, takes time and energy and effort and expense. So my point was we do this test to KPI phase where we work on the messaging, we work on, making sure we have the right message to the right person at the right time and place. And let's say it takes us 3 months to find that message or 3 months to get the message working to KPI. So if we still want to make $1 million, all that means is instead of 8.5 sales a month, now we need to have 12 sales a month because we had 3 months with no sales. Does that make sense? Is this causing fuzzy? I think it is. Does that make sense, Teresa? Okay, cool. Well, that's it. It's all pretty neat stuff. So it only took me about 35 years to figure out how to do all this stuff. So if I can help you and, Teresa, I'm sitting here scrolling through my screens and I don't even have that showing. Duh. Sorry about that. You can tell I'm a super professional. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I was doing here, Teresa, was this is what I think you were talking about, was the 3 months. So anyway, yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to call it. It's Friday. Hope you have a great afternoon, great weekend. And please reach out. I'd love to chat about this stuff. It's what we do. So with that, I'm going to end, and we'll see you at the next one. I have another one in a month, probably, that's also a really cool concept. I've never seen anyone really talk about. So we'll see you there. Thanks again.